Now, Kurt Bardella, NewsNation contributor and political and media strategist. Kurt, great to have you.
Thanks for having me this morning.
Great to have you. So, 2 months into Trump's second term, Bernie Sanders, AOC making these moves. Democrats, they're looking for a leader they can unite behind, and donors are as well, by the way. Being anti-Trump didn't take them across the finish line the first time around. What are you expecting in these forums?
I think what we're seeing is a return to that economic populism that really created the momentum for Bernie Sanders way back in 2016. And it's been clear that AOC is kind of the heir apparent to that wing of the Democratic Party. There's been this alliance formed between AOC's progressivism and Bernie Sanders. Again, that more economic populist message that really caught on within the Democratic Party when he ran for president. This is the perfect melding of that, and it is kind of a generational passing of the torch. And there is no question there is a void right now within the Democratic Party. There is no real distinct leader or figure or unifying voice. Here we have, two members of the Senate and the House here who are trying to fill that void. It'll be interesting to see what reaction they get, and it is a good contrast at the very least from the Republican side, who's saying don't have town halls, like stay away from that right now. That's not going to end well for you. They're going right to the voters. I think anytime you're going to the voters directly, that is a good place to be.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this. A growing number of Democrats, they're calling for new leadership. Here's what Congressman Glenn Ivey said on the Hill.
I don't have a personal vendetta against Chuck Schumer. Really, the issue is what's he going to do going forward? We really need him to get on the same page. I mean, as you heard from not only my town hall meeting, but other across the country, and you've seen them in polls, people want Democrats want the Democrats in Congress to get their act together. We need to get on the same page and have a strategy in the House and the Senate that's coordinated and effective.
So the Schumer vote for that funding bill, it really demonstrated a sharp divide in the party. How does the more progressive arm extend an olive branch to the other side, like you were talking about, or vice versa? You can make the argument that the identities of Bernie Sanders and AOC are much different, but a lot of people peg them as more of the very progressive left.
There's no question they absolutely represent the more progressive left, but that happens to make up the majority of the base of the Democratic Party too. You can't get anywhere without your base, and we have seen now for a long period of time the Republicans lean into their base, even at the risk of alienating the more Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney Republicans, which have become an endangered species. They kind of went all in on the base, and the results speak for themselves. They've been winning elections. I think that for Schumer, this is a generational issue. This is the Senate that you represent, the Democratic Party that you represent, the institution itself, it doesn't exist anymore the same way. And we're in a very different type of fight with the Republican Party than we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. And it's that Joe Biden era of politics, that collegial Senate that Schumer, is the embodiment of. And I'm just not sure that there's faith that this is the right face to have in the current political fight that they're going to be in for the next 3 or 4 years. And so it's nothing personally against Chuck Schumer. It's not even about this most recent vote. I think it's just a much broader generational issue. It's the same reason why the House Democrats went in the Hakeem Jeffries direction in terms of succeeding Nancy Pelosi.
I think that's a really interesting argument. I've heard a lot from Democrats saying, this certainly isn't the party of your mother or father, their generation of Democrats. But I think what's interesting and what may be a missing link in their messaging is connecting with the working class and those voters as well. Let's show you some new numbers. So a new national poll shows Democrats with record low favorability. What do you believe is the number one thing the party needs to do to turn those numbers around? And it may be bridging that divide between the party and the voters that we were just talking about.
Whatever the Democratic Party decides they want to say, whether it comes to the economy, whether it's about immigration, whether it's about Donald Trump, imagine going to a country music concert or a live WWE event. Two things that I do quite often. And ask yourself, look around, is anything you're saying, would that resonate with anybody in this arena right now. If the answer is no, you're not going to reach those voters. You're not going to get them back. They're not going to hear you. You're not speaking the same language. Democrats have got to get back to truly being that blue collar party that was a champion of the workers, of the laborers, of the minimum wage, middle class working families of this country that used to be their base in the Bill Clinton era of politics for the Democratic Party. That's where they lived. That's where they succeeded. They've lost that completely to the Republican Party in recent years. And the only way they can get that back is if they stop alienating them, if they stop insulting them, if they stop talking down to them, and instead look inward at yourself, at what you're saying. The words that you're using matter. And if your words will not resonate with those people who are at a Luke Combs concert, at the Houston Rodeo, at WrestleMania coming up in April in Las Vegas, if it doesn't work there, it won't work anywhere else.
Well, I think that's a really interesting litmus test, a unique way to think about it. Where do you believe that detachment happened?
I think it's because the majority of people who work in Democratic Party politics have not spent any time at a country music concert, at a WWE event. They live in their bubble, and they have that group think, that group talk, and they all believe that everyone believes the same thing they do. And if you don't believe what they do, well, there's something wrong with you. You're a racist. You're a sexist. Democrats are so quick to assign labels to people that disagree with them. I guarantee you, right now, people watching who might be a Democrat, they might go, "Wow, this guy, he sounds like a former Republican. Like, I don't think he's really one of us." I get that all the time when I try to give constructive criticism to the Democratic Party. And that knee-jerk reaction to immediately judge and assign a label is why they're repelling so many voters away from them.
All right, Kurt Bardella, always insightful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And still